Testing my Okay. Good evening, everybody. If we can grab our seats. Thank you. Well, first of all, I wanted to welcome everybody. Today is Tuesday, November 7th, 2023. We are now starting our city council meeting open session and call this meeting to order at 7:02 p.m. Wanted to welcome everybody this evening. We have a great crowd here tonight. We have our Union City neighbors here, of course. But before we get to that, I wanted to ask Madam City Manager, you can take the roll.
Mayor Salinas, would you like to start with the pledge?
Before we take the roll, we traditionally start with the Pledge of Allegiance. And I believe it's Councilmember Zedmeño will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. And thank you for the Pledge of Allegiance. That's why we have city clerks in America. It keeps mayors and councils in line. Madam City Clerk, can you take the roll?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, thank you. Councilmember Andrews.
Present.
Councilmember Bonilla Junior,
Present.
Councilmember Goldstein,
Present.
Councilmember Roach,
Present.
Councilmember Sarah,
Present.
Councilmember Surmeño,
Presente.
Mayor Salinas.
Present, thank you. Now I'd like to call upon our city attorney to give a report for closed session, please.
Thank you, Mayor. The council met in closed session at 5:30 pursuant to posted notice in the Brown Act. With all members present and no public speakers, the council discussed one matter under anticipated litigation and took no reportable action. The closed session adjourned at 6:45 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. City Attorney. Next, I'd like to go to presentations. We have three special presentations. And we're gonna reorder one presentation, and that is the AC Transit realignment project. And what we're gonna do is we're just gonna take the AC Transit realignment project, move you to number 3, and we're gonna move everything up. So I see the AC Transit people here, so thank you. So our first special presentation is the acknowledgement of Filipino American History Month. And I'd like to call upon Councilmember Surmeño, if you don't mind to hold this up, if we could pass that over to Councilmember. And first I wanted to acknowledge and welcome our friends from Union City. I know and Hayward, of course, but it's always nice to get a call from a very long time, just a dearly respected principal here in Hayward Unified, Ms. Canlas, Linda Canlas, and you've served this city with such distinction, and your reputation in our school, within our education community here in Hayward is outstanding. So thank you for always taking these issues and bringing this to us. Also, it's quite an honor and a privilege to have in our chambers the illustrious former council member, but once a council member, always a council member, Pat Gargoscos from Union City. And I also served with her on the Friends of Chabot College Foundation Board. And Pat Gargoscos, her reputation and her service record is just profound, literally. I mean, she's a very modest person, but she has been acknowledged and recognized as one of the top 100 influential Filipina American women in the United States. And so absolutely. So to have you here, it's always a privilege to have you in our chamber. And of course, Councilmember Gary Singh, Vice Mayor of the City of Union City. And I believe Union City, I don't take tally, but I do know that the last time I went to the Sister City celebration, Union City, I believe, has like 17 sister cities or something like that. You have a lot. But I know Vice Mayor Singh, I know you and your work has certainly been incredible, especially just our southern neighbors. I know you've been a champion of sister cities for a very long time. And of course, I'd be remiss if I did not say thank you for coming to our president of the Hayward Unified School Board, Peter Bufete. Thank you, Peter. You being a Filipino American, serving on the school board is always good to see representation. As we know, representation matters, right? And it's so nice to have your service here. So what we want to do today is I have a proclamation that I will read, and I wanted to thank everybody for coming. And then after I read the proclamation, and then we'll go down there, we'll take a picture, and then maybe one or two of you will have say a few words. Ms. Canlas, thank you. Okay, proclamation. Whereas California is proud to be home of the largest Filipino American population in the nation that contributes greatly to shaping, advancing, and enriching our community, and nearly 100,000 Filipinos live in Alameda County, representing 6% of its total population. And whereas Filipino Americans are the third largest Asian American group in the United States and the second largest Asian American group in the state of California. And whereas the earliest documented evidence of Filipinos in the continental United States occurred in October 18th, 1857, when mariners called the Luzones Indios under the Spanish command landed in Morro Bay, California. And whereas the Filipino National Historical Society recognizes the year 1763 as date of the first permanent Filipino settlement in the United States in St. Malo, Louisiana. And whereas Filipino men and women have made valuable contributions to all areas of life throughout California and the United States, including government, business, education, arts and sciences, medicine and healthcare, law enforcement, and the military. And whereas Filipino Americans have long history of engaging in social justice movements across the nation, including but not limited to the United Farm Workers Movement and the Hawaii Sugar Plantation. And whereas the Filipino American communities have shared their rich culture, traditions with neighbors and families while setting examples of model citizens and public servants. And whereas in November 2009, the United States Congress passed a resolution to officially recognize October as Filipino American History Month. Now, therefore, I, Mark Salinas, Mayor of the City of Hayward, and on behalf of the City Council, do hereby proclaim the month of October 2023 as Filipino American History Month. You know, what is not said on this proclamation, and just a little historical note, is, you know, Cesar Chavez and the UFW for a very long time took on some really big social justice fights and really fighting for worker dignity, workers' rights, and fair pay, compensation for farm workers. And while there were a lot of successes in the UFW, and Cesar Chavez certainly made great gains in the UFW movement, we must not mistake the historical fact that it wasn't until the Filipino farm workers joined the UFW, and when they joined together and united and came together, that is when the farmers listened. And so it was clearly a demonstration of power by numbers and how building coalitions across communities really works, right? Particularly for hardworking farm workers in the state of California. So that is always a historical fact that we always have to remember. So I'm sure our fathers are very proud of us today. Okay, so let's go downstairs and take it. Oh, yes, Councilmember Zermenio, yeah.
If I may, yes. Thank you very much to my colleagues, the Filipino community, and also to our mayor for this proclamation. It takes me back a couple of years when I was a farm worker in Salinas Valley. All of our foremen were Filipinos, and quite a few of them taught me how to do a better job. Difficult for a tall guy, but it was very, very good. And I love those excellent times. Presently, our son-in-law, Gerald Reyes, is from Manila, Filipinas, and he is a professor at Cal State Hayward. And that means that two of our grandkids are Filipino Americans, Mayari and Davao. And I thank them. Also, four of my students at Chabot College are Filipino. And I told them about today, and they couldn't be here, but they're very, very happy. Micaela, Nico, Spears, and Joella. So thank you very much. Thank you, Filipino community. I think it's tremendous. You're very important to all of us in Union City and all throughout the United States. Thanks.
Meetings go.
Testing. All right, this will take only 2 hours. Do you have time? On behalf of Ponce East Bay, that's Alameda and Contra Costa counties, we thank you for recognizing the contribution of the Filipino Americans in our history. And I could see there's a lot of Mexicanos, is what we call them, Mr. Semeño. If you have both Filipino and Mexican in your blood, you'll be Mexipino, and you belong to all of us. Thank you so much. I would also like a special thank you to Mr. George Syrup at the about your speech at the Advocate for Justice event. I didn't get thank you that night, so thank you for what you said. And yes, we have to work in making sure that everybody is seen and is visible. Thank you so much. This is the first for Hayward, right? Thank you. Of many more to come. Yeah, thank you so much.
And just want to again, thank you so much as the Vice President of the Filipino American National Historical Society East Bay chapter. This is a very proud moment for us. But I did want to give a shout out to our Tennyson Pasta Club who came out tonight. They represent us so well in our community. So just want to give them a shout out. And thank you guys. This means a lot. Representation matters. And being the first elected Filipino in this city is a big deal for me. And the more we can get more representation for our community, I think the better for everyone. So thank you so much.
You mean you don't want to stay for the, hey, Vice Mayor Singh, you don't want to stay for the whole meeting? And compare, you can compare meetings if you want. Oh, next week. Okay, all right. All right. Okay. Next is, I'm going to, let's see, yeah, I'll hold that there. Actually, Councilmember Bonilla, can you just hold this one out? Yeah, okay. Our next presentation is goes without saying for those who have known me for a while. I've been waiting for this for a long time, so to speak. And I am very happy and I'm very pleased to see that we have our city's, some of our key academics in the room. Dr. Jason Ryman, Superintendent of Hayward Unified School District is here. Of course, the newly appointed president of Chabot College is here. The superintendent of Eden Area ROP is here. Blaine Thorpe is here. And I just saw the Dean Emeritus of the Graduate College of Education and Allied Studies here in the room. And I do see Trustee Prada is here, and Trustee Buffette is outside taking pictures with the Filipino American group. That's fine. But it, of course, president of the Alameda County School Board, Jonabet Cole. Last week, we had a conference, we had a convening at Chabot College, and it was a convening with mayors and academic leaders throughout the Bay Area. And we talked about partnerships and relationships between school districts, colleges, universities, and cities. And the objective was simply to discuss how do we end poverty in the Bay Area through academic institutions. And that was sort of the discussion of the day. I co-hosted this event with the Northern California College Promise Coalition. It's a coalition of education professionals and academic nonprofits. And what we began to do and what we began to begin the discussions for is to how do we build a seamless cradle to career pathway starting at the youngest of age, prenatal, postnatal, but of course at preschool and then early childhood education, preschool, and then K-12, and then community college through university and graduate school. So the idea was, how do we as a region come together to build this seamless pathway so that we can support children and families through this pathway? Here in Alameda County, there's 14 cities in Alameda County. Only 2 of the 14 cities have all 3 academic institutions, and that is Berkeley and Hayward. We're the only 2 cities that has a school district, a community college, and a university, not to mention a full array of programs and services serving 0 to 10 and other preschool programs. We have every asset known to the federal government, state government, and local government. We have every asset here in the city of Hayward to end poverty and to literally change the trajectories of every family in the city of Hayward, right? We have it here. And not only do we have all of these assets here in the city, I am very proud to say that we have the people in place to do it. So it's not only having the assets, but it's having the people, and it's also having the political will and the administrative push to get these programs and services connected to kids and families, not only in Hayward, but across the region. So one of the outcomes of last week's convening was to declare cities across the Bay Area as education cities. And I'm proud to say that tonight, Hayward is going to be the first city in the Bay Area to designate itself and declare itself as an education city. So here's the proclamation. Whereas the city of Hayward acknowledges the importance of healthy kids 0 to 5, and therefore directs assets and resources to healthcare services for infants and to the public library for the purpose of connecting children to early literacy experiences and nutrition. And whereas Hayward is one of only 2 Alameda County cities that is home to all 3 California public educational systems, the Hayward Unified School District, Chabot College, and California State University East Bay. All of these systems are complemented by technical schools and professional schools for students seeking careers in professions which require highly technical expertise, whereas Hayward is also home to private schools, religious schools, and other models of education that have missions to prepare students to pursue professional trades in college. And whereas, according to the city of Hayward, the current population is 156,754, when accounting for all of the students who attend Cal State East Bay, 13,693, Chabot College, 13,006, and the Hayward Unified School District, 20,517, there are an estimated 47,216 students enrolled in public school. These totals do not include private schools, which increase this percentage. While mindful that there are some students who commute daily into Hayward for school, this means approximately 30% of Hayward's population is a student from preschool to graduate school. And whereas Hayward schools, colleges, and university are major economic generators in Hayward, and cumulatively and conservatively generate over $600 million within the city limits, considerably more is generated when accounting for other assets, including real estate portfolios, transportation programs, and other significant investments held in their foundations. Whereas in 2023, the U.S. Department of Education reauthorized the 3rd round of funding for the Hayward Promise neighborhoods, resulting in a cumulative $82.4 million investment in 3 neighborhoods spanning from South Hayward, the Jackson Triangle, and now downtown Hayward. Whereas the vision of the Hayward Promise neighborhoods will be a national model of commitment to community and collective effort that alleviates intergenerational poverty and creates equity for all in Hayward. And whereas the Northern California Promise Coalition is a regional cradle to career network of 60+ organizations working in partnerships with cities and counties to change policies, systems, and practices so that marginalized and underserved students in 12 Northern California counties complete post-secondary credentials, attain livable wages, and build wealth. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed by the city council, by the council of the city of Hayward, that the city of Hayward affirms to be an education city where we strive to build a community where all residents have access to quality educational opportunities and cradle to career support so they can achieve their life goals. So this is we are the first city to do this. Our goal is to get every city in the Bay Area to do this. And I believe former mayor of Oakland, Libby Schaaf, had asked me, she said at the end of the convening last week, she said that she and I are going to go on a road trip throughout the Bay Area to make sure every city becomes an education city. And so, and also I see our, of course, Renee Hertzfeld is here. And I just wanted to say for the record, 0 to 5 is included in this one. Okay, let's take a picture. President Cooks. President Sandine is helping today, is not out tonight. I'm going to give this to Hayward Promise Neighborhood. Oh, we have one more, and what's it? Oh, actually, so that one goes to Sandine. Okay. And then Dean Nelson, of course, and then of course with all Renee, absolutely, absolutely. Line us up correctly. See all of us? Henderson High School in the house. Okay. Everyone is a walking journal bucket. Quick, quick. Oh, yeah. It's a little one right up front. And yeah, go ahead. And then I wanted to get a picture with. Thank you, thank you. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And then if you guys want to take these. Oh, yeah.
On behalf of Cal State East Bay and Hayward Promise Neighborhoods, we're just so excited. The state's finally here. The first conversation I had with the mayor before he was mayor was this idea of our institutions coming together. And, we got to launch the new downtown Hayward Promise neighborhood 2 weeks ago. We have over 11,000 people out there, and thank the library for really bringing celebrating children. And I think this is really more than talking about our institutions, really celebrating children, centering children, and also centering neighborhoods. If we're going to talk about poverty, right, or talk about the needs of children and families, we're in the new Promise neighborhood, 1 in 5 children live in poverty. In one neighborhood, 1 in 4 children live in poverty. So I'm very excited that we're moving beyond programs and really looking at systems and institutions to say, it's time to really invest and go into the communities. And this is a testament of that. And to be the first in the Bay, and I think in this country, I don't think there's been another education city proclamation yet. And so excited to share this with our partners nationally. U.S. Department of Education, I know we'll be looking at this as well. So thank you, Mayor.
And I don't think you said your name. So you're Edgar Chavez, the
Yeah.
executive director
For the record, Edgar Chavez, Executive Director of Hayward Promise Neighborhoods at Cal State East Bay. Thank you.
Actually, we'll go in order of size of the kids. So we'll go 0 to 10.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Savita Murthy. I'm a resident of Hayward. I'm not the head of Chabot College or Cal State or the school district. I'm just a good old resident in the city of Hayward. I've lived here since 2008, and this is the first place in America that has felt like home to me. And what I wanted to say is that the number one reason why people come to a city or why people leave a city is because of the quality of the schools and the quality of educational opportunities that are available for our children. So I'm also an educator. I've spent the last 20 years of my life focusing on improving the quality of educational opportunities for children. And it's so encouraging and heartwarming to see my home be the first city in the Bay Area to be an education city. So thank you, Mayor Salinas. Thank you, City Council members. And thank you to all the leaders of all the educational institutions that make this city what it is today.
Yeah. Thank you. And of course, not only is Dr. Murthy an educator and a Hayward resident, but she's also on the board of directors of Force 5. 4 C's. 4 C's. How did I miss that? 4 C's. Okay, that's what I meant by going in order of size of kids.
So as you were talking, I was thinking about what drives us with education. It really is, and at its best, education is a form of social activism, right? And to hear that statement in terms of what education means and how it can transform the lives of young people as they grow into adults. When we think about that as a school district, we're thinking about 18,000 young people, but that's amplified so much when we're working together. And as I look around and I look, whether it's at you, Mayor Salinas, or the entire city council staff, even this audience is filled with people that I see day to day doing the hard work. And so with many shoulders, the burden isn't so heavy, and there isn't a better team, I think, to accomplish the goals that you set forth. So thank you for beginning this process and for pushing it along.
And And of course, that is Dr. Ryman, who is the Hayward Unified School District Superintendent, right? Dr. Cooks, are you going to say your name at the front?
I'm going to start with that. Do I get a gold star? My name is Jamal Cooks, and I'm the current president of Chabot College. And I am very excited to be here tonight. I'm very excited about this partnership. I've been a former middle school teacher, secondary teacher, and also spent close to 20 years at the four-year level in college, teaching college. And so coming here and hearing that Hayward was going to be a education city, at first I said, my gosh, that sounds like it should be really simple, right? Everyone should be an education city, but as you learn more about it, it takes a lot of dedication, a lot of commitment, a lot of putting ego to the side, a lot of making sure that we put students and families and communities first. And so I'm just happy to be a part of this, and I'm looking very forward to doing the work, right? Because this is just the beginning part. The work is going to be putting in the programs and the structures that are going to benefit our students. And I think it's so telling that tonight, on a night where we're having this Education City ceremony and proclamation and showing this partnership and working relationship, that we have children here that are witnessing this work, that we have young people here that are witnessing how adults can come together and benefit a community. And so with that, I appreciate it. Thank you very much, Mayor Salinas and the entire city council. And I'm looking forward to working with the city of Hayward. Thank you.
I had to push the button. Okay. So my name is Jonavette Cole. I'm with Hayward Promise Neighborhood, and I also have the honor of serving as Alameda County Board of Education President. And I just want to say that thank you, Mayor Salinas. This is a dream come true. I've served with Hayward Promise Neighborhood for all 3 grants. And we've worked side by side in the battle of making certain that Hayward was an educational city. And it is our goal and our objective to make sure that every single scholar in this city has a high quality education. And so it's very important for us to focus on that. The fact that we have multiple institutions from cradle to career and up to higher learning, it makes total sense that Hayward is the first city to become an educational city. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good evening. I first wanted to say thank you. This is all that any of us have ever wanted. And I just wanted to take advantage of being in front of so many and with so many elected officials and powerful advocates for education and children in this room to urge all of us to continue to push for mental health services. I know a lot of us have looked at the budget coming up, and there's a lot of cuts as far as our COVID funds. And in order for our babies to be able to be the amazing scholars that they are, they need to be present in themselves when they come into the classroom. We need to be able to still have our family engagement specialists, our social workers, our counselors. And because we are such a blessed city, we have that circulation within our city. So I just want to urge everybody to continue to advocate, to up your advocacy, and to remember that, not just locally, but a state and federal level of advocacy. Thank you.
Good evening. I was here earlier. Peter Buffetti, President, Board of Education, School Board. I just wanted to, again, just echo just really how proud I am that the city is doing this and making that proclamation, because we are an education city. And I think I do want to call out one really cool fact that I had found out a couple months ago, but we have an Hayward Unified School District Equinox right now, where an Alameda County Board Supervisor, a mayor, and the school board president are all products from the Hayward Unified School District. That's a lot to be proud of right there. We are homegrown.
Go farmers.
And yeah, if you want to get specific, we're also all farmers, but I think it's, but I think it's really important because we are homegrown and we have, we really, it takes a village to raise a child. And I feel like my entire childhood here in Hayward, people have uplifted me in this community and promoted me and said, you can do this, you can lead, you can be a leader. So as long as we continue to look at the young ones here and give them the confidence to be those leaders, this community of Hayward is just going to thrive. So thank you so much for taking this step.
Okay. I believe that is it, unless Dr. Nelson, unless you have something, but might as well. I mean, Dr. Nelson, let me tell you, carries, a big responsibility. She is our chief educator who literally prepares future educators, not only for this city, but for the state. So.
And I was thinking back in 2011 when we had our first implementation grant, and prior to that, a planning grant. And when I compare that time, that was exciting. And when I compare then and now, it truly is a dream come true. And the fact is that you do have all the people in place, the right people in place to continue to move this work on behalf of students and families. And this is just an exciting moment to be here in this place at this time and have you proclaim this proclamation. And your city council and the staff, city staff, what a delight to see you all come together and all the agencies, the education agencies and all of the support agencies that support families and help make education a viable pathway is such an exciting time in Hayward. And I'm delighted to have been part of this since the very beginning. So thank you again from the bottom of my heart.
Thank you, Dean Nelson. Okay. And I'll end on this. It's my master's degree is in educational administration and public policy studies. And I for sure would not be sitting here in this chair if it weren't for my professor and my mentor, my graduate school advisor, Frank Garcia in the back over there. So thank you, Frank. Okay, so now, thank you. I am going to move on to the next item. Our next item is the AC Transit Realignment Project report. And I know we have representatives from AC Transit here. And as soon as they get up here, they'll start their report.
You're gonna switch that? Here, I'll switch that. You going to start?
Go right
Okay,
ahead.
so good evening, Mayor Salinas, members of the City Council, City Manager McAdoo, staff, distinguished educators who are leaving the room, which is fine, and the wonderful public. Thank you very much for allowing us to come here to present our Realign project. There are a number of slides in your packet, but we're not going to go through them all. And in the interest of time, one of them includes this slide that talks about current service that's provided to the city of Hayward. We're going to be talking about what is Realign. Basically, it's a review and update of our AC Transit service, kind of where the bus goes, when it goes, how often it goes. And the reasons why, obviously since the pandemic, things have changed. People are moving differently. And we're in phase 3. Come on, there we go. And we have a number of goals, but the main thing is we're trying to make some adjustments to our service to better serve the community with the available resources that we have today. And so I'm joined here by Crystal Wang, who is our transportation planner, and she is the transportation planner for this area. And so we have some guiding principles also in your packet. This is based on more than 15,000 surveys that we received. Thank you all for the earlier phases where you helped us promote this project. And now I'm going to turn it over to Crystal, who's going to talk about the service scenarios.
Thank you, Diane. So yeah, we have 3 draft service scenarios that we looked at, and each of them covers a different goal. 2 of the scenarios are cost neutral, so they just reallocate resources that we have today with different approaches on how to do that. And then the third is an unconstrained, basically visionary plan that we would implement if we had additional resources in terms of buses, operators, funding, and more garages. So first, we have a balanced coverage scenario, which just keeps coverage everywhere in the service area that we have it today and just expands it in a few places. Then we have a frequent service scenario where we're looking at providing a fast and frequent network where no line in the entire service area runs less than every 30 minutes. And then finally, we have that unconstrained, which is the visionary, more of everything everywhere. And next, I'm just going to get into some key highlights. And these are just high-level overview of the lines that we have in Hayward. But I do want to note that all of this is available in the packet and on our website at actransit.org/realign. And you can look at them all in detail. So first, the biggest change we have is extending line 10, which currently operates between San Leandro BART and Hayward BART, extending that all the way down to Union City, and then discontinuing line 99, which would then allow for a continuous 1-seat ride for everyone along East 14th and Mission Boulevard between San Leandro and Union City. So it looks like it might have skipped a few slides, but another change is the lines 41 and 56. Is it going to show? Yeah, it looks like it disappeared. It's okay, it's in the packet. But lines 41 and 56 will largely remain the same as they are today. But in one of our scenarios, the frequent scenario, both lines will be consolidated into a single line. So 56 will go away, and then the 41 will absorb parts of 56. And just so you're aware, line 56, Councilmember Zunino, currently averages roughly 400 passengers per day on average. That's along the entire extent of the line. So not specifically in Hayward, but I can provide all the ridership information for each line and probably get it down to the Hayward level for you. And then another change is that we also have lines 28 and 93, which operate in Hayward, and those are going to remain the same as they are in the balance scenario, but in our frequent scenario, they'll slightly change. Line 28 will be shortened in Castro Valley, and then 93 will be shortened at Hayward BART, but both of them will see increases in frequency. And then I'll just turn it back to Diane for engagement.
And so basically, I mean, this is very high level. We're going to be in a number of places, but we are encouraging people. It's a lot of information to digest, but we wanted to have an opportunity to meet with people early on to say, hey, this is what we're thinking based on what we heard. There were things that weren't really clear. So that's why we have more than one scenario that we're presenting to you. One is this, as Crystal mentioned, this balanced kind of coverage, which is almost like what we have today, but just some improvements and adjustments to make it a little bit easier for the rider to move around, hopefully more of like a 1-seat ride. And then the frequent service is where you will have like service coming no more than every 30 minutes. So currently a lot of places in Hayward, it might be 40 minutes an hour, 45 minutes an hour. And so the frequent service would be on these main roadways where it's coming at least every 30 minutes. And so, but the trade-off with that is that you would lose service in some other areas. And then the unconstrained, so those are the two scenarios that we're looking at, you know, for we're aiming towards August 2024. The unconstrained are just that kind of pie in the sky. Like, what are the things that we could do to create service that's coming, you know, as often as possible and being able to kind of get people to where they need to go. So that's what we're looking for. And so we're asking people to take time to visit actransit.org/realign. I do have these take one little cards that the clerk, Marion, has given to each one of you, and we're making them available for the public. We, as of within the first 7 days, the report is that we've had 10,000 people hit our website just on that page. And on our interactive site, just about 5,000 have hit that page. And so, so people are interested. And then on Friday, I went out to do our first outreach at one of our bus stops in Berkeley. Normally I was told that the ridership there per day on that one stop is like just under 600, but within 3 hours, we had about 600 people come through, and they were all on their phones scanning the QR code, and they were going onto the site. So anyways, so that service comes a lot more often, but that's the kind of thing, like in terms of unconstrained vision scenario, that we could possibly see in Hayward. And also we're really proud that as AC Transit, we also have two of our facilities here in Hayward. We have our Division 6, which provides, is home to 300 employees, off of Winton. And then we also have our education center, which is a place where we have people from all over the world that come to learn about how we're training our operators. So thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. I had a question, and I don't know, I don't see any buttons hit here, but one question I had, actually two questions. Do you guys follow clicks? So in terms of the people who took the survey, do you know like how many of those surveys came from Hayward neighborhoods or Hayward area?
We have that information. I don't have it right
Yeah,
now, but
that's
we
fine.
can get that for you.
Yeah, I would like to know like how many Hayward writers or Hayward folks contributed to the survey. That'd be kind of interesting to see. Second question is this. Some time ago, and I believe this was you may know this. It had to have been like in 2000. It was the beginning of the second Hayward Promise Neighborhood Grant, and the reason why I'm using that as the time period is because we had invited AC Transit to Hayward to have some meetings with families. This is when they reconfigured the line through the Jackson Triangle, and there was some realignment there. I say that because the case was made, and they found that according to the data, the survey that they took then was that riders in the Jackson Triangle or in the Hayward area wanted more frequent riders or more frequent service, irrespective of the distance of the
Between the bus stops.
yeah,
or how often.
how far the bus stop was, right? So, they didn't necessarily care taking the bus across, having the bus stop across the street from the house. They didn't mind walking as long as the bus was on time and, it was dependable and safe and clean and all of that. And so I was just curious, when I saw more frequent, less coverage, has that been reconciled, or have you thought about that, or, what's the thinking around that?
Yeah, so in the survey that Diane mentioned, we did see that, this is for the whole service area, by the way, roughly 60% of survey respondents said they wanted more frequency or they would choose frequency over coverage. So it does match up with what you're saying. I'd have to go back and check specifically for what Hayward said, but that's why we have these two scenarios, just to, now that we have lines on maps, show people what that could look like and get their feedback.
Perfect. And the other reason why, and this will be my last point, the other reason why I wanted to know like how many of the surveys came from the city of Hayward was because I remember, if my memory serves me right, when the good people at AC Transit came to us then, the number of Hayward surveys were very, very low. And so that was one of the critiques that we had, was that we wanted to see more Hayward people taking the survey, because the service, like going through the Jackson Triangle, for example, was completely, realigned. And anyways, that was.
And I would comment, I remember you made that comment before you became mayor, and you made it very clear because I wasn't here when they did that.
Yeah.
And so we partnered with a number of community-based organization partners. Many of them are located here in Hayward to do additional outreach to the communities. And so I think the numbers are going to actually be pretty good for Hayward.
Good.
But yeah, we
Wonderful.
did make note of that, and we were trying to be very conscious to really make sure that we have hear the voices of the entire community, not just the ones who are the loudest or who are able to get online the easiest.
Yeah, and I should also say, and this will be my last point, is Director Young really understands the assignment, because this is like the fourth time I've seen this card. So go Director Young. Councilmember Syra.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you for the presentation. I'm really excited about this study. I'm excited for its results to be put into practice. Similar to what the mayor was expressing, I also favor the frequency setting. Just for folks to know, there's about 18 to 20,000 rides that go through Hayward monthly. So there's a lot of people that are taking cars off the road, and our city's committing to developing a plan to build bus benches to help support your bus network as well. And then just because we had a great proclamation for Education City, I also wanted to encourage our educational partners, one of whom is still here right now, to really look into implementing the Easy Pass for students, both at the high school and college level, so that we can encourage our students to take more public transportation, provide our transit system with those fares, and hopefully better and more frequent service as a result of that. And so I just wanted to give a shout out to those programs and encourage the community to support those initiatives. Getting our students to take public transit, I think, is a great practice. When I was in middle school, that AC Transit bus pass was my ticket to independence and freedom. And I believe in a city that's designed for autonomous children, not autonomous cars. So I really value the work that you're doing. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Roach.
Thank you. Thank you for being here tonight and giving the presentation. I wanted to ask, when you talk about canceling Route 99 and making it Route 10, what happens when you absorb a line like that? Because I know a lot of people rely on that line. So do you add more buses now as 10? And what happens practically when that?
Yeah, so currently, if you're looking at this map right here, the 10 goes every 17 to 20 minutes, 99 is every 20. So consolidating actually improves service overall, because it'll become every 17 minutes. And then we will add buses or service as we need to. And then, so coverage actually isn't lost in it. The whole intent.
Okay, so it just absorbs the whole
Exactly.
line. Okay.
Yeah, and the intent is just to reduce transfers for people who are trying to go south of Hayward.
Okay. Okay, great. The other thing I was going to say is one thing I've noticed that I wonder if you're working on is just how you pay for the bus. Because I know for me, I'm not a frequent user of the bus, so I'm sort of like a novice when I jump back on. I did it recently, and I had money in my pocket, I had an ATM card, but I wasn't able to use the bus, and there was a really nice bus driver that got tired of me standing there, told me to get on. So I hope that's sort of part of it, like increasing, the random user who wants to use it almost like a shuttle bus. Because when you get on the 9 or the 10, it is like a shuttle down Mission Boulevard. You can hop off and on as long as you're able to have a convenient way of paying. So just shout out there. Thank you.
Councilmember Andrews.
Thank you, Ms. Castleberry, for your presentation, as well as Ms. Young. Just want to say Diane Castleberry does a lot for our community on top of doing AC Transit. So I just want to acknowledge her for that. I did have a question about the survey. How do people fill out the survey if they don't have a computer?
For this. So there's a couple different ways, and actually I left my bag back there, but so we are also making these available at libraries. So at the Hayward Main Library, we have all the profiles based on the different scenarios in English, Spanish, and Chinese. In a book that looks like the Yellow Pages available. And then there's a little card that's there. So the libraries are working with us so people can fill it out. And there's a little receptacle or a box that says AC Transit. They can drop it in there, and then we'll be picking it up. So we're working with the libraries. So we're at least one library in every city. And that was to the brilliance of one of our newest staff members at AC Transit. And so we're doing that. Also, we're trying to be in a lot of different places. And so we are coming to council meetings. We're going to school board meetings. We're meeting with some of the different community groups. We're also working with community-based organization partners. We're still trying to confirm some of the dates. They're going to be doing some open house events. So we're going to be doing one with Krill Center for Resource and Independent Living. Also with La Familia, and also with in this area. There's one other one, I'm forgetting them, but and also United Seniors. And so we're working with a number of different groups to try to make sure we can kind of go to them, meet them where they are versus having them come to us.
That's very good. That's what I'm so happy to hear that response. So that's awesome. And then I also wanted to make a comment about frequency. 60 minutes is a very long window to wait for the next it can actually be life-changing for some folks. So definitely would love to see the 30 minutes. And I wanted to see if we can, I know that there was talk about Foothill Mission, and I'm sorry, I don't see the map right in front of me again, but just wanted to see about Tennyson and Hesperian, if those would be 30 minutes or less as well. That would be great, because a lot of people from the west side of Hayward want to get to the BART stations, but it's a huge disconnect to have that freeway there or just getting on the other side of town. So if we can have more frequency across Hayward, I think that would be great.
Yeah, so thank you for that comment. And we have several lines that go along Hesperian, Tennyson, including the one that goes to Chabot College and also Cal State East Bay. And under the frequency scenario, all of these would be 30 minutes or better.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Councilmember Semenyo.
Thank you, Mayor. 20 minutes would be better. But anyway, there are two things I want to mention that I want to make sure that people are aware of this. Keep working on the benches and on the sheltered bus stops, please. And then also, you didn't mention anything about the award that you received recently. Could you say a couple of words about that, please?
I already forgot that.
Yeah, it's now I just forgot the name. What a bad rep I am. It's the APT Award. It's a National American, oh my God, Public Transit Agencies Award. We are the top agency of the year in of our size. So it's a prestigious award. We won it in a poll of 248 other agencies nationally.
All right. And thank you. And that bodes well, speaks well about the work that you do, Claudia, Salvador, and everybody else. So thank you very much.
Yeah, you're very modest. I have to tell you, Director Young delivered the report at ACTC a couple weeks ago. And apparently I didn't know this because, this is not my discipline, but that's like a big deal in transportation and particularly in public transportation. And to have that award here in the East Bay in AC Transit was pretty outstanding. It was a rather big flex in the room, if I recall, but yeah. Councilmember Goldstein.
Thank you, Mayor. Directors Young and Castleberry, your report is very much appreciated. I know that there's a lot of hard work that went behind that. And I can see that there's a big heart for the community in the work that you're doing. So really very much appreciate that. One of the concerns that I've had for a while, and forgive me, I hope I'm coming across clearly. I've had this cough for a while and I'm trying to keep it down by sucking on a lozenge here. So I apologize for that, but I think it's preferable to me coughing. One of the concerns that I've had since I came here about almost 19 years ago was the last mile to BART, to buses. So I don't live far, but I live up a steep hill, which means that in order for me to take a bus or BART, I have to go down the hill, which isn't really much of a problem, but it means I also have to plan to walk back up the hill. And, I work out and I'm proud of that fact. Yeah, I am. But that hill is a monster. You probably know the hill I'm talking about. It's the one up Guerin Ave. Goes up to I live up near the top there. So, but not just me. When I talk to other people that live up at Stonebray and Bailey Ranch, Fairview, and a whole bunch of other areas, that's the concern they have. And not just the people in the hill, but the other folks that live, in fact, somewhat close by, they're just not close enough to not take their car. Walking imposes not only an additional time constraint on them, but if they have to carry anything because of their job well, anyway, you get the point. So last mile transportation is a concern. And so far, I haven't seen any of the transportation organizations really address it. We are about to get one of the transportation companies that does autonomous vehicles, they're relocating here to Hayward. And I'm not necessarily suggesting that you should work with them, but it just seems to me that an autonomous vehicle as a last mile participant in transportation could potentially ease the burden. And so my ask is, if you would kindly look at that, or at least look at that issue and maybe find some ways to solve it. We thought bicycle lockers would, help a lot, but what I notice is, for whatever reason, people don't want to leave their bikes at BART. Some people take it with them. In any event, the point is that if you can look at that last mile issue, I think it would do a lot to get people into public transportation. It would be great for the community. Thank you. And thank you for all the hard work. Yeah, you can.
One thing
respond,
to add
please.
about that, this may not solve all the problems, but one of the elements that we're looking at in our unconstrained plan is a microtransit service, which we operated pre-pandemic, and it basically is like an Uber or Lyft, but a small like cutaway vehicle, like a 24-foot van that would be ADA accessible, and it would bring you basically door to door, stop to stop. So it would help address that kind of last mile thing if we were able to get the resources to implement such a plan.
Gotcha. Okay.
And if I could just add one more quick thing to address Councilmember Syra Fenzer-Manio. Some AC Transit staff and I were actually out last week in Hayward, starting on the bus stop bench and semi-seat assessments. So we hope to have updates for you soon. And thank you for your support on that.
Nice.
And one last comment on the AI. So I know that our general manager had mentioned that we are looking at it. We're not quite there yet. There's a lot of details to work out, but just so you know, we're looking at everything in terms of how we can provide the best service for the community. So thank you.
Great. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And then I believe Mr. Gunn has a very short question that he'd like to ask you.
Thank you. I wasn't planning on doing a public comment, but I'm inspired by the previous presentation, and it reminds me of my work this year in Safe Routes to Schools, and just looking at the number of students who take bikes, who take public transport, who constantly request Clipper cards and things like that. So I think as part of the education city, we really do need to think about how our students getting from one place to another. And so for me, this is a super important point that we keep that in mind, as well as, extracurricular activities after school, tutoring. How are they going to get to our new performing arts center near Mount Eden? So all these things are top of my mind. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you. Is this related to this topic? Okay. Yeah, sure. Come on up. And then when you're done, if you can visit the city clerk, and she's going to ask you for some information, but go right ahead.
Jim Robson. I wanted, if you could just tell me again what the changes were going to be regarding 28 and 93.
Can you turn the mic on? You can either. I think this one works too. Yeah.
Oh, yes. It's just going to be some minor changes to lines 28 and 93. So we're gonna it's in the frequency scenario. So the scenario that makes everything 30 minutes or better. Line 28 would be kind of basically no service in Castro Valley. That part would be cut out.
Okay.
Yeah, but it would still serve Hayward BART, and then 93 will also serve Hayward.
Okay, that's kind of my concern. I do live in Castro Valley.
Yeah.
I'm in Hayward every day, probably more than Castro Valley at times. But 28 provides an important connection for people between San Leandro BART, specifically to Eden Hospital. There's a trauma center, an important medical facility with lots of offices in that area. And there's a lot of people go over that hill, because I take it sometimes in the morning. It'll be a full bus with students and people going to BART for work. So that's a real concern.
To clarify, it will still go to for the draft right now, it'll still go to the medical center. It just wouldn't go to like Castro Valley High School, Creekside Middle School. So it would miss Redwood Road.
It only goes up from the hospital, it just goes up the boulevard to BART anyway. But, does provide that connection for people who do shopping and business in that route. My other concern is when we talk about frequency, what would be an infrequent service? My concern, and I appreciate somebody's, one of the members concerned about people getting across across Hayward. I'd take the 60 to and from Chabot College, almost, probably 3 days a week, sometimes more frequent. A lot of times I do it on a bike, sometimes I drive it, and I bus it, with my bike. And I've recently realized it runs on a 40-minute schedule. And at 40 minutes, that's long enough that it really discourages anybody from taking it unless they are in the most desperate of situation. When I find that, I just stay on the bike. I'll deal with the traffic, or people drive. It's almost a, I hate to use this buzzword doom loop, but when you get to 40 minutes, people just are going to drop out. And the other thing is, it is an important kind of crosstown connection from the west side and down around Tennyson through Chabot College and right, fairly directly on up to Hayward.
Okay. We get your point. I think they've been taking notes, and if you can visit our city clerk and she'll collect some information from you, but thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Is it a short question? Okay. Yeah, come on up. And then when you're done, visit our city clerk and she's going to collect some information. Go right ahead.
Thanks for the wonderful presentation. I am here with a contingent from Icon Therapeutics. We are locating in Point Eden, along with a large number of businesses and biotech, and I see it growing every day, like with the construction. And I saw in one of the unconstricted plans, the line, it used to be the 63 or 83. And I just want to express my support. I think Council Member Andrews mentioned about connecting one side of Hayward to the other side.
East-west.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we want to express, and Icon Therapeutics and a lot of businesses over there, we would like to see a connection from Hayward BART to that section. So I saw a line going over in the restricted version, so it would be really amazing to have that. And I think there's a lot of people over there that could use that. So thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. And we want to do whatever we can do to keep Icon happy over there on the west side. Please tell the good people at Icon that we heard and we are listening. Thank you very much to the both of you, and thank you for coming out to Hayward, and we'll see you out there. Thank you. Okay. Next item is public comments, and next, I'd like to ask Miss Suzanne Cox to come on up. It took a little bit, but
I think I forgot how to turn this on. Okay. Hi, my name is Suzanne Cox, and I live at 24942 O'Neill Avenue, and I've lived there since 1977. So we both went to Hayward High. His mother worked for certificated personnel for Hayward Unified School District. We both work for Hayward Unified School District, and our son works at Cal State East Bay. So I really appreciated tonight's city council meeting. Kind of made me think about a lot of things. But anyway, right now, I would like to talk about O'Neill Avenue. And unfortunately, we seem to be a target for theft. And in the last 3 weeks, the Toyota Service Center, which is across the street from my house, was vandalized. Somebody just broke right through the fence. And the next morning, we saw the fence rolled up in a ball in front of our house, basically. And it also, whoever did that also broke out onto Orchard, both sides. So last Saturday, we had car theft right next door to our house, in front of the condos, I guess Challenger, Voyager, those streets. So that's the third time that car's been stolen. So I really don't know what more to say about that. And the third thing, we have a auto body shop that's out on Mission Boulevard, and they have storage units that face out at the end of O'Neill Avenue on our side past PG&E. And they're storing damaged cars out there, sometimes a lot. And it's just really turning into a really big problem for us. I don't know what more to say, except for I was a block captain for Hayward Neighborhood Alert. We took the Citizens Academy, both Michael and I, and we did the CERT training. So, you know, we do care. And I don't want to just complain. I'd kind of like to see somebody tell me what more we can do to stop this, because we have 9 units being built right across the street from our house. And I see that there's going to be more problems, mostly with parking. I just don't see it getting any better, and I'm concerned. And I don't know. I don't know whether Hayward Neighborhood Alert is disbanded, but there needs to be something. It's like there's nothing organized that I could think of more than what we're doing right now, which isn't very much. And so we would appreciate some kind of help. So that's all I have.
Well, thank you very much. And you're in luck, because tonight we happen to have our interim police chief sitting here at the dais, Mr. Matthews over there. And I'm sure if Mr. Matthews could give you a card, I'm sure he's writing everything down, and he can respond to you as soon as possible about those. But but one issue you did bring up, and I see it because I live near auto body repair shops, is the storing of damaged cars on the street.
Yeah.
And I absolutely agree. So our interim police chief is over there. Feel free to connect with him, and he'll give you a card, and he'll respond as soon as possible.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, seeing excuse me, seeing no more public comments, I'd like to move on to city manager's comments.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I had one comment I wanted to share. Last Saturday, November 4th, the police department hosted a recruitment event aimed at attracting more women to law enforcement positions. The event, Hayward Police Department Women in Law Enforcement Career Day, was encouraged by the 30 by 30 national initiative, which aims to advance women in policing by 30% by 2030. The event included multiple group sessions that encompassed a professional speaking panel of Hayward police women, both sworn and professional, a presentation regarding requirements of the hiring process, and a departmental tour and equipment display. Outreach for the event was completed by sharing information with local community organizations and through social media. The event began with a meet and greet, followed by formal welcomes from myself and Police Chief Brian Matthews. Attendees then broke out into the small group presentations. We had over 35 women who attended the event, and several submitted applications for interested positions by the end of the day. Very successful event. Really pleased with how, advancing women in the profession, but also just engaging community members, improving transparency and increasing trust with the police department. Because we also had a lot of women who were just interested in learning more about the police department or had heard about the event. So that was great. We are planning similar recruiting events throughout 2024. And with different themes, and those will allow the department to connect with specific candidates that are currently underrepresented in law enforcement, and also recruit more locally. So we invite members of the community to follow the Hayward Police Department on social media, also the city's social media channels, to learn more about those events. And want to thank, there was a lot of staff work that went into that event on Saturday. It was very well done, and just want to thank the police department for hosting that on Saturday.
Thank you very much for that. And I'd like to move on now to our action items, to our consent calendar. And nobody has asked. Oh, Apparently the board has lit up, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, they're here they come. Councilmember Bonilla.
Thank you, Mayor. Oftentimes our consent calendar doesn't get the attention I think it deserves for the great things that are passed here. One of the consent items that we're going to be, passing tonight, hopefully, is an allocation to the South Hayward Parish in the amount of $495,000, which I think is amazing. We said as a council that we wanted to address the homelessness crisis in our community. And this is an example of how we're acting behind the priorities that we've outlined. This organization provides emergency shelter services. It's the only drop-in shelter for single adults in Hayward. When we think about, how we respond to the homelessness crisis, rapid rehousing is important. This emergency shelter service is an important component of, I think, an integrated homeless response system that we have across our city. So, when we heard that this First Presbyterian Church, who operates this shelter, was $645,000 short of being able to continue its operations, it's great to see the city be creative in how it is we were able to find this $495,000. And I also want to thank the partnership of the county, and in particular Supervisor Marquez, for coming to the table with the remaining $150,000 so that we're able to fund the total of the $645,000 funding gap that this organization had. So just wanted to say, thank you to Supervisor Marquez, thank you to city staff, and thank you to my council colleagues for continuing to prioritize how it is we address homelessness in our community. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilmember Roach.
Thank you. On item number 1 in the consent, I wanted to make one change in the minutes. It said that I made comments about Ava, the new East Bay Community Energy name is now Ava, and that it was a nod to a mix between Alameda County and the Valley, and the notes say San Joaquin Valley, and it's not San Joaquin Valley, it's just the Valley, meaning like the whole valley off of the bay, basically. So if those changes can be made, thank you. And then I also wanted to highlight the allocation to South Hayward Parish. I was really pleased to see that. And I want to make sure going forward that we consider what that means now going forward, that we don't have to worry about where those funds are, so that they can maintain the same level of service that these funds will allow them to do this year. So I know that's a future looking thing, but I'm pleased to see we're doing that this year. Thank you.
Councilmember Andrews.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to acknowledge the efforts of the Hayward Police Department in obtaining grant funds to minimize the impact on our general budget. Also, like that it is for additional training and community engagement, and wanted to give kudos regarding the community engagement in the sense of the social media has changed drastically. And I wanted to give a special kudos because I watched the video with Mondays with Mike, who's giving out information on traffic related content to help support reducing traffic stops. So I just want to acknowledge the efforts there and efforts with the grant. Thanks.
Thank you. So now I'd like to all entertain a motion.
I so move.
I think I heard Councilmember Bonilla moved, seconded by Councilmember Goldstein. And I'd like to see if there's any public comment. Seeing none, Madam City Clerk, you can take the roll.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Councilmember Andrews.
Aye.
Councilmember Bonilla Jr. Councilmember Goldstein.
Aye.
Councilmember Roach.
Aye.
Councilmember Sarah.
Yes.
Councilmember Sermenio. Mayor Salinas.
Yes, and it unanimously passes. Thank you. And thank you for the comments, Councilmember Bonilla and Roach. And Mayor Pro Tem Andrews. Next is legislative business. Item number 7, LB 23-040, Councilmember Handbook. Adopt a resolution approving modifications and edits to the Councilmember Handbook. Report from the City Manager, Kelly McAdoo, and from the City Attorney, Mr. Lawson, and the City Clerk, Ms. Lentz.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm actually going to turn it over to Assistant City Manager Regina Youngblood, who is going to make the presentation on all of our behalves this evening. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, and Council. Again, I am Regina Youngblood, one of the Assistant City Managers here for the City of Hayward. And I will be bringing you this very brief presentation about the Councilmember Handbook modifications. So the first thing is just to explain what the handbook is that you probably know, but for the record, the Councilmember Handbook provides procedural rules for how the City Council will operate as a body. The handbook was first adopted in 1983 and since has undergone various revisions, the most recent of which was in 2021. At the April 22nd, 2023 Council Governance Retreat, the Council reviewed the handbook and discussed various modifications. Following that meeting, the Mayor appointed an ad hoc committee consisting of himself, Councilmember Goldstein, and Councilmember Syrup to finalize proposed changes to the handbook. That ad hoc body met 3 separate occasions and reviewed 10 different sections of the handbook, some of which led to changes, which we will see tonight, and others did not. So the first section that was reviewed was the compensation for members. Compensation for council members and the mayor is set by municipal code. The section and chapter you see here presented, when it was approved, the latest revision to code, it set the council members' salaries at $25,000 annually and the mayor's salary at $40,000. In that same municipal code, the method by which council and mayor salaries would be increased is also enumerated there. And it is based on a formula consisting of the Consumer Price Index for the San Francisco, Oakland metropolitan area. What we found in our review is that the increases that are enumerated there in code have not been applied consistently. From 2004 to 2022, the council had waived all increases, and in 2009, took a 5% pay cut to align with economic downturns that were happening. So the current salaries for the mayor and council, the mayor's salary is set now at $41,958, and council members have a salary of $26,224. We presented to the council the ad hoc committee, 3 different options for addressing the inconsistent application of the municipal code as it related to increases. Part of the reason that we underwent this review was to make sure that council member and mayor salaries were reflective of amounts that might help to provide equity for individuals who are interested in being members of this body. And so the 3 options that were outlined to the ad hoc committee was option 1, basically do nothing. Keep the salaries exactly as they are right now, and then apply the municipal code moving forward. Option 2, update council and mayor salaries to reflect salaries that would have been in place had the council applied or had the code applications been applied consistently beginning in FY 2004 forward to FY 2024. That would increase mayor salaries. The mayor's salary is $69,288, and council member salaries would be increased to $43,305. Option 3 is to update the mayor and council member salaries to reflect salaries that would be in place had the code provisions been followed, but only beginning going back to 2016 through 2024. And that would lead to a mayoral salary of $52,782 and council member salaries of $32,989. To be clear, none of the options require any change in language to the actual handbook or changes to the municipal code. And what is being proposed is that the salaries would change in the fiscal year 25, and there would be no retroactive back pay associated with any of the changes or options that would be entertained and selected today. And whichever option is chosen or is directed, HR will be bringing back a staff report for a salary plan modification to effectuate that change. The next section that we reviewed was the council office budget guidelines, and language was added to the document to indicate exactly how much was allocated to the mayor and council members for educational and discretionary funding. Language was also added to include that sponsorship of community events is an acceptable use of discretionary funds. And there was a change to how expenses as approved by the city manager and mayor could be added to that list as a one-time consideration on a case-by-case basis. Instead of bringing those items to the council for review, the city manager and the mayor could make that change and make an approval to another expense that's not explicitly articulated in the handbook. We also reviewed the special meetings section. No changes were made or proposed to that section. We looked at the agenda section of the handbook and added language to prohibit public comments that would impede the orderly conduct of council. That same language that is now proposed for the handbook has been added to each agenda and is typically read by the mayor prior to the opening of public comments. Section 5 of the handbook was reviewed and it was related to the delivery of the agenda. No changes were recommended there. Section 6 of the handbook, rules, decorum, and order. There were 3 substantive changes. Language was added to clarify that criticism is protected speech. Language was added to remind members that advance notice about how a member intends to vote should not be shared on social media. And language was added to remind members not to directly respond to other members on social media as it could constitute a Brown Act violation. Section 7 of the handbook was reviewed. The motion to amend language was added to clarify the process that would be used to propose an amendment to the motion on the floor. And there were other sections reviewed, including council committees and appointments. Language was added to document a new process for ratifying how the mayor will appoint individuals to standing committees, commissions, boards via a consent item. So right now it's in the prerogative of the mayor to establish who will be assigned to each standing committee, board, and commission. And he or she will still have that responsibility, but the item will be brought in front of the entire council for ratification. Language was also added directing the use of that same consent item if the terms coincide with the mayor's other appointments to appoint members to other boards that require a resolution. Section 9 was reviewed, which is the responsibility of the council liaison. Language was added there to clarify what kinds of information council liaisons may bring back from boards and commission meetings that could be articulated and communicated during the council reports and announcements section of the council agenda. Section 10, which was the final section that we reviewed based on input from the governance session in April, was committees, commissions, and task force. And the ad hoc proposed language be added from Resolution 87-323 related to the removal of non-reappointment, of commissioners who failed to meet the attendance requirements. What is specifically happening in there is that special meetings will count towards attendance for commissioners. Brown Act language was also added to this section of the handbook, and the council the ad hoc suggested language that City Council has expressed a strong preference for commissioners and task force members to attend meetings in person, and that's added to the handbook. There were 2 additional recommended changes that were emerging from our conversations. Page 26 of the handbook on work sessions. Staff recommends deleting the last sentence that reads work sessions, a work session presentation and discussion shall be limited to 1 hour, as this is no longer the council's practice. And we were also asked to look at the council appointed officials handbook in the section on page 13 on bylaws. Staff recommends that we might add a sentence that reads, bylaw amendments must be reviewed by council. The council could also choose to direct staff to come back with an item specifically related to this matter. Questions?
Thank you. What I wanted to do also is I wanted to thank my colleagues, Councilmember Syrup and Councilmember Goldstein for serving on the ad hoc committee for this. And wanted to, just let the rest of the council know and first of all, and also thank staff. But I also wanted to just let folks know that this was a very thoughtful process. I think Councilmember Syrup and Councilmember Goldstein practiced a great deal of thought, judiciousness, and really showed a level of maturity that when we take this moment and take this time to review the handbook, it is something that we not do in haste, but it's a very thoughtful process. We met over several months to review this, and we often, well, I shouldn't say often, but there were moments where we did not agree on some things. We arm wrestled, but I think at the end of the day, at the end of this process, we brought to the council a series of recommendations that we were comfortable with bringing to the council, and to give the council an opportunity to discuss and talk and so forth. So I just wanted to thank Councilmember Syrup and Councilmember Goldstein for the work on this council. So with that said, Councilmember Andrews.
I just had a quick question on page 11 regarding attendance for the task force members. Is for specifically the Keep Hayward Clean and Green. It says monthly, but I don't think they're doing monthly cleanups anymore. So I don't know if that's like a quick thing that we can review or change. I think it's a minor change because it's more consistent with their schedule. And I know they do a lot of outside events for tabling. So I just wanted to see if we can make that correction. If that's possible. Okay.
Okay. Councilmember Bonilla.
Thank you, Mayor. I also wanted to thank the members of the ad hoc committee for the changes that have been brought forth tonight. Reviewing 10 areas over multiple meetings is not easy work. So I appreciate this being brought before us. When I was looking at the staff report on page 11, some of the new language, it says, according to resolution 87323, the city council will remove or not reappoint any commission or task force member who has failed to attend at least 75% of all regular meetings. I'm wondering if it's really that definitive. We will do that, or would we maybe change it to say we may at our discretion? Because I think there's been situations in which folks have not been able to make 75% of meetings, but they've had adequate reasons, or they've justified to us why they were unable to make it, and we've continued to allow them to serve. So I'm just suggesting or asking, is it really this definitive of the ad hoc committee that we will remove people? It's almost like an automatic the way this is written now if their attendance hits less than 75%, or is it really at the discretion of council? That's my first question. Second question in that same area, the sentence starts with members eligible for reappointment and who have failed to meet the required performance criteria. So that's where it kind of starts to get confusing, right? Because if they failed to meet, according to the earlier sentence, they should be removed. But then it says will be encouraged to submit an application. I don't think they should be encouraged. They should be required to submit an application, and they should be required to show up and interview and discuss why they were unable to meet the requirements. And I think they should be considered just like any other new applicant would. All right, let's see here. Also, on page 12, the first paragraph, I think the second sentence, it says after 3 consecutive absences, or in the event attendance at 75% of meetings is not obtained, the city clerk will notify the city council. I feel like we probably need to add something more there, like, and city council will consider next steps or removing the member, or, you know, what happens, I guess, after it comes to city council. And then on the fifth paragraph on page 12, it says, you know, as city council finds more qualified candidates and available seats to appoint every member, the council will establish an alternate list when selecting new members. But then it kind of talks about this list will expire at the beginning of the new recruitment process. Just for clarity, when does the new recruitment process typically begin? Just so we have a general idea of when those lists would expire.
I'd ask that the city clerk could respond. Yes, council member. So when does the recruitment start is the question, and it's usually in April of each year.
Got it. So if there's a vacancy on a commission, let's just say it comes up in May, we would sort of expire this alternate list in April. So we wouldn't really use that for, let's say, the May opening. We would just fold that into the regular recruitment process.
Generally, yes.
Excellent. Just wanted to clarify that because I know that came up during the recent planning commission appointment, but this makes complete sense. I love the transparency that's here. I have no further questions, but I do have some comments when we're ready for that. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilmember Roach.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you to the ad hoc committee for going through this, because I know when we talked about creating an ad hoc committee, I'm not sure everyone jumped up to do it, but I really appreciate everyone who did do it because it was obviously necessary and important work to clarify some of this. I wanted to thank the staff for adding the bylaw section so that we can at least review it, even if it's just on consent, if the appointed bodies are making changes to the bylaws so that we make sure they're consistent with the city charter. I appreciate that. And I wanted to ask you, it was on the slide, the item number 8 under council committees and appointments. The second bullet says language added directing the use of the same consent agenda item if the terms coincide. Can you explain that? I don't really understand what that's saying.
Yes, I'd ask if the city manager can correct anything that I might say that's incorrect, but I understand from when we appoint individuals to certain boards and commissions, there's a resolution that is required by city council. And I was just looking for the names of a couple of those commissions. I think that would be like the Alameda County Abatement District Board of Trustees, Bay Area Water Supply and Conservation Agency. So if we're at that same timing of when a person needs to be appointed to one of these commissions, or like the San Francisco Bay Area Regional Water System Financing Authority or the Board of Directors, then we would use the same consent item that the mayor is using to appoint to regular standing boards.
Okay, I see. Oh, see. So it was the outside bodies, not just the council appointed. Okay. Okay, thank you. And then the other question I just had about the pay question was, when in 2009, the council that time decided to take a 5% pay cut, was there an understanding, was there an understanding that would eventually come back when times were looking better?
So as part of, 2009 was during the Great Recession. We were also looking to our employee groups at that time. The employee groups actually gave back about 17% across the board in concessions, additional contributions to benefits. So I think the council at that time took that action because the council doesn't really get significant benefits like the rest of the employee groups. So that salary reduction was sort of in lieu of what the other employee groups were doing in terms of giving about 17% towards contributions for their benefits or not taking raises.
Okay. And then over the years when the, because there was a process in place to have these CPI increases over time and that didn't happen. Was that just not discussed at that time or was it just waived by consent? How did we get so out of compliance with?
So each
with our
year,
fees
the
related?
council, would generally have a discussion about whether or not there was a desire to have, take those raises depending on the economic conditions at the time.
Okay, thank you. No further questions. Thank you, Mayor.
Councilmember Zermeño.
Thank you. Thank you for the report. Let's see, 2 quick ones. On page 11, page 12, there are some wills. I always assumed that in legal documents, the word would be shall. So is there a reason why we chose will as opposed to shall? This is just a nitpicking. I'm just
Yeah, I don't think that that was discussed, but I defer to the city attorney.
normally I see shalls, but okay. And then in agreement with colleague Bonilla, I think that perhaps on page 11 where it deals about the 7%, 75%, instead of saying remove, we may consider removing, because we really have removed very few folks from any of the commissions and committees. We discuss and we say, well, let's give them a chance, see if they have a good excuse. So maybe instead of remove, simply a may remove, as opposed to will remove. Thank you.
Thank you. I wanted to, let me just sort of clarify, because it has come up a couple of times, the language of will or shall, particularly where it comes up around attendance. I think the conversation, if I recall, and my two colleagues on the committee could certainly chime in on this, we had a very robust conversation about attendance, right? And over the years, we have seen attendance in all of the commissions. I mean, Planning Commission, Community Services Commission. Where members have gone, 65% attendance. I mean, and so we believed then that the word will really gave us teeth of, if a member doesn't show up to a commission, we will dismiss them. I mean, and the word shall we felt was too soft. And if they were towards the end of their appointment or at their end of their term, and they had such a high percentage of not showing up, or a low attendance rate, I should say, then we would dismiss them, and then they would have an opportunity to apply again if they wanted to, and then we would evaluate that as a council. But we did not want any confusion as to, if you don't show up to a commission meeting, then let's make room for someone else, because we certainly had a bench, particularly the Planning Commission. The Planning Commission, like council, I mean, we all are here. The Planning Commission is a highly revered commission that makes multi-million-dollar decisions on projects. And when commissioners do not show up, whether they do their homework, I'm assuming they all do their homework, but if you don't show up, the public optic is you really don't care what is at the top, whatever the topic is at hand. Because, like I said, the Planning Commission, like the council, they deal with projects that are, most of you up here have been planning commissioners. So, you guys know what you guys, do. So that's why we used will rather than may. Okay. Let's see. The other, I think that was it. Okay. Let me see if there's any other questions. Councilmember Goldstein.
Well, may I comment on that point? So probably the most significant change there might have escaped your notice, and that is that we're now counting all those special sessions to count towards that 75%. There really isn't any reason for someone to be missing that much when you take into consideration all the extra meetings. So in the past, it was a little dicey, right? And so we made some allowance where we might let somebody go or might listen to their rationale. But I think with this new formula, there really isn't any reason. If they're just not attending 75% of the total number of meetings, they're not doing their job. So that was our concern and why we said we will let them go.
Thank you. I don't see any other questions, but I do want to ask this question just for clarification because I really want to make this clear, and this is regarding compensation. Option number 2. Here it says, outline, let's see, based on CPI data through this period, the mayor's salary, okay, hold on. Update mayor and council salaries to reflect salaries that would have been in place, in place had provisions outlined in the Hayward Municipal Code, have been applied consistently beginning fiscal year 2004 through 2024. Now, what I want to be clear, and I know you said it, but I want to be very clear about this. If we go with option 2, this new pay rate starts when it comes up, right? In December, or I don't know what the start date of the new salary would go into place.
It probably would be in August because based on the language of the calculation, you have to wait until the end of the fiscal year
okay.
to get the
So
information
August
as a
of
look
20
back.
of 24.
Yes.
Okay. So August of 24, I got that. So now I just really want to be clear that we're not talking retro pay, correct? We would start as, in August as if, as if all the increases had occurred over the years. That make sense?
That is correct, because we're saying that this would take place in fiscal year 25, which begins in July.
Yeah.
But we wouldn't have the data until at least August to implement that change. That is correct.
But I want to be clear that come August, none of us up here are going to get a retro paycheck where we're going to have a big balloon payment catching up, right?
That's correct. There's no catch up.
Yeah.
It would just be establishing the new salary and then applying the formula going forward in each subsequent year.
Okay. I just want to be clear about, Councilmember Bonilla.
I just have a clarifying question on that. So I think what I just heard is this would go in effect August of 24.
Correct. Because
I thought this would have to go into place after the next general election. So that means no.
No, and so, and I certainly will defer to the city attorney's office. So that would be if we were making a change to the ordinance itself. What we're actually doing is applying the ordinance that had not been applied from 2004 to 2024. So it does not require that you actually vote on this separately. If it was a change to how increases were to be calculated or implemented, or a change to the base salary that was irrespective and not related to the ordinance as written, then you would have to wait until after the next general election to apply that change, but defer to the city attorney.
Thank you. The base salaries in the ordinance aren't changing. Base salary is 25 and 40 respectively. It's not increasing if the council were to select option 2. And so that's why it would not require waiting until after the general municipal election in 2024. It's an important distinction, but it is a clear distinction.
Yeah, because I think that's when I'm still a little confused on, sorry to belabor this, because when I read the sentence in here, it says the council may likewise change such compensation. However, such changes shall not be effective until one or more of the members of council become eligible for such a change in compensation by virtue of beginning a new term of office. But I guess that's not applying to this particular topic right now.
Correct.
Thank you for that clarification.
Okay. Let me go back to the other screen. Okay, so seeing no other questions, I will open it up to public comment. And we do have a public commenter. And it is Supervisor Elisa Marquez.
Hi, good evening. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Hi, good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, council members, city staff, and public. I am calling to make comments on this item as a lifelong resident of Hayward. I just want to commend all of you for your dedication, your commitment, and your hard work. Everything that you do on behalf of Hayward residents is something that we all see and feel. I appreciate all of the updates in the Stack newsletter, your outreach efforts on social media, and I just want to speak to the fact that I know all of you work immensely hard in your role and you take your responsibilities very seriously. So I just want to call in and lend my support. I know this is not an easy topic to discuss compensation, but all of you are working hard for our community. I appreciate it. I know many other members do as well. And I would fully support all of you deciding on option 2 or 3. And just want to thank you for all the hard work you do on behalf of Hayward residents. So please know that I know I'm not alone. I wish other people would call in, but I know that this item also got continued from a couple weeks ago. So I just want to express my full support as a lifelong resident for option 2 or 3 in increasing the compensation. Thank you.
Thank you. Now our next public commenter is Alexis.
Hi, good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I rose my hand last minute just so that Supervisor Marquez knows that she is indeed not alone in supporting option 2. And I just wanted to add that this is not just, I agree. I'm very proud of the work that the current council members have done, the past council members have done, but this is not just about the current and past council members. This is a question about this role being accessible to everyday working class people in Hayward, so that any resident who wants to be a representative on this board or on this council has the option to do it, and that cost is not prohibitive, or the cost of living is not prohibitive. That options like these, this sort of increase makes it possible for people who have bills to pay, who have children to feed, who have rent to pay, are able to represent the city, and that when voters decide that they want those people to represent them, that's an option for them. So just wanted to add that this is not just about the current council, this is not about the past council, but it's about the future council. Who do we think that this role should be accessible to? So thank you and have a good night.
Okay, thank you. And seeing no public comment here in the chamber, I'd like to come back to the dais. Councilmember Syro.
Thank you, Mayor. Just want to start by saying that Councilmember Bonilla, I believe you made some excellent points about our commission handbook. And I think a lot of our ad hoc committee's focus was on the council handbook, so I appreciate your attention to those details. I do agree with the mayor's language and commentary, though. I think we are trying to take a slightly tougher posture on commissioner performance and attendance. So I'm in alignment with the mayor there. I do want to express what a pleasure it was to work through this handbook over the course of 3 months with my colleagues, Mayor Salinas and Councilmember Goldstein. I'm proud of our collaborative spirit, the conversations we had as an ad hoc committee, and our shared desire to fine-tune our council and its ability to serve its residents. I'm really proud of these recommendations. I believe they go a long way in making what sometimes can feel like obscure machinations of a city council and our commissions feel a bit more transparent and more accessible to our community. Like Supervisor Marquez said, it's never easy discussing pay, but it's important to talk about it, I think, in any job. I was getting my haircut today, and this is a true story. I didn't just write this out because it sounds cute, but I did ask my barber today. I said, how much do you think a council member makes? And he said, oh, I don't know, maybe 100K. And I said, what if I told you it was about a quarter of that? And he said, less than minimum wage. And I said, yeah. And he was shocked. He's like, that's way less than what I make. And I think a lot of people don't realize how much work goes into these roles and how little we're being paid for them. And when I ran for this position, I actually met, thousands of residents, but there were a few that said, I one day want to serve on this council, but I can't afford to win, which to me just felt like the most bizarre statement. You can't afford to win. And when folks have kids or rents or bills, it adds up. And so we can start to understand how this position and how low the compensation is actually excluding folks from being able to serve the community. So when the majority of Americans can't afford a $600 emergency, and we live in a democracy that supposedly respects the majority, then we need a compensation structure that I think also honors that majority. It says right now that the only people that can represent our community are those that can afford to or are willing to suffer a great deal in order to provide. And I don't think either of those are the kinds of cultural examples or settings that we're trying to create for ourselves. When I think that the voices, especially those of our most vulnerable, the majority, are the folks that we do want up here in the long run, informing our policy and direction for the city. So tonight, I just wanted to make the motion to approve the recommended changes with option 2. The option that the mayor, Councilmember Goldstein, and I all put forward unanimously. I want to define what the living wage is for the community. A living wage is defined as socially acceptable level of income that provides adequate coverage of necessities like food, shelter, child services, and healthcare. And I want to say that for the SF Oakland Hayward area, the living wage is $23.72 an hour or $49K a year for an adult with no kids. If somebody has a kid, that doubles to $50 an hour or $105K. So what we're asking for tonight is less than the living wage. And I really think that, as colleagues, we deserve at least a living wage, and this isn't even asking that. And I think, we and future council members who want to give their life to public service and make decisions for over 160,000 people deserve to be paid more than the $12 an hour we're being paid now. So I think just to wrap this up, a lot of folks up here are struggling. Most of us have 2 jobs, personal debt. Some of us are searching for work, working multiple jobs, like I said. And instead of having the breathing room to give more, to give our all to the community that elected us to serve them, we're having to struggle. And I think this does a disservice to our residents, and it robs both my colleagues and our community of all the great gifts that we have to offer this city that we call home. So option 2 is asking for less than a living wage, a wage that wouldn't go into effect until next year, but a wage that would better ensure that it was a person's tenacity, their merit, their ideas that are the barriers to them serving on this dais, not their socioeconomic status. And I believe that we have an obligation to expand our candidate pool so that Hayward encourages the most qualified people to run in the future, not just the most well-off or those with a high tolerance for pain, such as ourselves. And I think we have an obligation to our residents to better support our council members and colleagues so we can do the best job possible, the job that our residents elected us to do. So with that, I'd like to move the item with option 2 and the 2 amendments that were suggested towards the end of the report. And I hope that my colleagues will support me in this motion.
Moved by Councilmember Syra, seconded by Councilmember Goldstein. And Councilmember Goldstein, as a seconder, would you like to make a comment?
Yeah, thank you. So what we came up with is not at all radical. What we came up with had already been approved years ago. But in recognition of what it would take for someone to serve on this council, the least we can do is make it affordable for everybody. So keeping in mind from around this community, which is not the wealthiest community in the Bay Area by a long shot, all people deserve to have a chance to serve and not have socioeconomic status be the barrier. So that's principally what we looked at. We're not changing anything. We're just asking to put back into place the means and the methods that were already approved. I'm very proud to be working with all of you, my colleagues here on City Council. And I just ask that, you guys all know that in addition to paying normal bills, we're also asked on a regular basis to pay $75 for this event, $125 for that one, $150 here. Who pays for that? That comes out of your pocket. So people that are listening in from the audience, watching us on TV or on Zoom may not know that. It's actually expensive to be a city council member. And so at least by putting back into place the mechanisms that were already approved gives an average resident in the city of Hayward the economic ability. They would still need a second job, of course, but at least it gives them a fighting chance to be able to serve and not have their personal socioeconomic status be a barrier to quality service in city council. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Bonilla.
Thank you, Mayor. I also just want to express my sincere thanks to the ad hoc committee. I think that the recommendations that were brought forth tonight are strong recommendations. And it's clear that there's been a lot of thoughtfulness that's went into the discussions that the ad hoc committee has and the recommendations that are in front of us tonight. I also agree with the importance of ensuring that our commissioners understand the attendance requirements of being on a commission. So, my point earlier was I just want us to be consistent in the language. So now that I believe the consensus among my colleagues is we will remove commissioners if they fall beneath the 75% attendance threshold. It sounds like that's non-negotiable. So let's just make sure that that's consistent everywhere. So like on page 12 of the staff report, after 3 consecutive absences, the city clerk will notify the city council, and this just be explicit, and the city council will take action to remove the commissioner. Just so it's black and white and it's spelled out as clear as day. The other thing is, related to the handbook of the council, of the appointed officials handbook on page, let's see here, 13. I think the item that we saw tonight said bylaws will be reviewed by city council. I actually want that language to be stronger, to say something like the bylaws will be approved by city council via consent or something, but review, I think it's really approved is what we're saying. The other thing I would want to add to this appointed officials handbook is just to be really clear, a statement like, commissioners should not oversee subject matters that are already overseen by other commissions, task force, or committees, just to be explicit about that. And then, as it relates to compensation, Hayward is Alameda County's 3rd largest city. This compensation being applied consistently is really what we're talking about, because it's the inconsistent application of the Muni Code as it relates to council salaries that has been consistently unapplied or inapplied, which has got us into the situation that we're in today. So essentially what we're doing is we're saying that we want this to be consistently applied, because these raises haven't really kept up with the pace of inflation or CPI for that matter. And it hasn't really reflected the provisions in the Muni Code neither. So I think for those reasons, I'm supportive of, of us going with option 2. It would put Hayward as, the 3rd highest city council in the county, but that's fine. We're the 3rd largest city. The work we do, I think, merits that, and the amount of hours and dedication that I think are put in by the members of this council, it's negligible for the salary increase that we're that we're discussing tonight. So I support all of the recommendations as they've been put forth, with a couple of those word tweaks that I had mentioned. I was gonna be the seconder of the item, but Commissioner Goldstein beat me to it. So at the end of the day, I support the recommendations that have been brought forth. And I just also want to thank the ad hoc committee, because coming to a unanimous consensus on such a broad body of work that you guys worked on together is something to be commended. So feel very comfortable with these recommendations, and thank you for the hard work.
Thank you. Councilmember Roach.
Thank you. Yeah, I also want to thank the ad hoc committee and the fact that you all did work this hard and came to a unanimous agreement makes it a lot easier to support your recommendations. And I really appreciate the tough work on the compensation. No one ever really wants to touch that topic, but just to add to the comments that have been made, that we're obviously all committed to public service. All of us have given many hours of free public service, like volunteer public service to get here. And I think we're all inclined to sort of accept it, that it's almost like a sort of glorified volunteer job with a stipend. And, we all sort of accepted that as it was, but it shouldn't cost people money to serve, because even with the stipend, with all the work that you do offline, what we're not doing here, it's many hours beyond, I think, what the expectation was. And with people having, parents having to pay babysitters and continue to do the work that we all want to do, it becomes, it shouldn't be a burden to a family. And I think the point was made about looking forward, that it's for us, but it's also looking forward that if people really want to serve, they have to be able to, sort of understand what it's really going to cost a family to do it. So I really appreciate you taking on this tough topic and presenting this to us. And I mean, and just the fact that we're simply out of compliance with the Muni Code, and to bring us back into compliance and going forward, there, people who serve in the future can count on what that looks like for them, can actually make that calculation when they decide to run for office in Hayward. So I really, really appreciate that. And then my final thought was, thank you so much for clarifying the motion to amend. I thank you for the work from the city attorney and the ad hoc committee on that. I think it's going to make, those few times we go down into several layers of motions, I think it's really going to help. So thank you. And thanks again for all the work that you did on this. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilmember Zermania.
Thank you. And thanks to the three committee members. I think you guys did a very, very good job. I agree with all of the particular language modifications that are on pages 4, 5, 8, 10, 12, 11, and 12. And that's excellent. So that's very, very good. I agree with the comments as far as the compensation, but I really don't want to call it a raise. In my mind, it's a clarification, or it's a application of the provisions of the municipal code. It's not really a raise, because then people are going to say, why are you giving yourself a raise? No, we're just applying the municipal code. I do like application option 2. That's fine. It reminds me of equity to a degree. It allows for certain folks who are not able to even consider it, now they may consider it. And I think that's important. So my hats off to you, all of you, for the good comments too. And that's it, I think. And with that, thank you for the work, for the direction, and let's move forward. Thanks a lot.
Councilmember Andrews.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to thank the ad hoc committee as well. Thank you, Councilmember Saab, Goldstein, and Mayor. That is a very good cross section of our council in that ad hoc committee. I would like to say that just in general. I also like the changes, particularly with the commission. I 100% agree with Councilmember Bonilla. We did serve on that commission, as well as many others up here. And I just want to acknowledge, just for myself, I went to Planning Commission 2 weeks after giving birth. That's how important it was to me. Now, I don't recommend it. I don't recommend it, but I just feel like those decisions are super important for our community, and to see that kind of attendance on the Planning Commission is appalling. It's just flat out appalling. And I'm so happy that we're going to address this. The other commissions, they do feel when other commissioners or task force members who aren't there and they're doing the hard work, literally some of them are doing manual labor or female labor. It's really bad for morale. It's really bad for morale. They're doing a lot of good for our city. They're committing a lot of time. And so I just really want to commend you all for taking that head on. Just that alone is a big change. So thank you for that. I did actually, I was actually okay with option 3. I see that I don't have consensus here, but I do have a little bit of concern about the precedent we're setting with this. But I do want to recognize it is important for people to feel like they have a shot at being on the dais, no matter what background they are from. I do want to acknowledge Supervisor Marquez calling in. She was one of the hardest working people I've ever met. And the commitment she had to this community, including, Mayor and council members, Emmanuel, have been doing this a long time. And it's not until you get on the dais do you understand how much work it is to be a council member. The fact that we're not just here Tuesdays making decisions on the dais. It's committee on top of committee on top of committee. It's going to those meetings. It's volunteering your time. It's going to these events, yes, but you're engaging with the community, and it's a pleasure, but it is a lot of hours that is taken away from our families in order to commit to the city. So I just hope that people, when they see this, I hope they recognize that we really do care about this community. We are sacrificing a lot. And this compensation is a token for some of the work that we're doing, but we are no means are saying that we deserve more. We got elected for this role for a reason. It's because we love this community. So I just want to acknowledge that. I also want to acknowledge the employees that gave up a lot in 2009. That's one of the reasons why I was considering the option 3, but just want to acknowledge all the employees who gave up during those tough times. We commend you for that, and we thank you for that, because you're keeping the city afloat by making those sacrifices. So I just want to acknowledge all of the labor groups that came to the table to work with the staff to make that happen from this year, as well as definitely in the pandemic as well. So I just want to acknowledge their efforts. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Okay. Well, first of all, I wanted to thank Councilmember Syrup and Councilmember Goldstein again. And like I said, this was I felt a good process. I also want to thank staff for walking us through this and really sort of forcing us and really, challenging us through every paragraph, every section of this process of the handbook. Both Mayor Pro Tem Andrews and Councilmember Bonilla, they're absolutely right. I don't think you could have got more of a cross section of the council at a table. Councilmember Syrup, Councilmember Goldstein, and me. It was quite a conversation, and I, and probably one of the most, I think, honest conversations I think we've had. Really, as we were talking about this, but and I really appreciate all the kind words that everybody has expressed to us on this, because this was certainly a very difficult task, and I've had several conversations with both the city manager and the city attorney as we were going through this process, and so so please know that the handbook was just more than just editing language, so to speak, and I know everybody knows that. Everyone is right to talk about compensation is difficult, but it is a necessary thing to do time and time again, or in time or as frequent as possible. But I think this council over the years, I was elected in 2010 and Councilmember Cermeño before me. We were here at a time when it required the council to be measured, to be prudent. It required the council to be good stewards of our budget, good stewards of our economy. And when I got onto the council, it required patience. It required us to really listen to the community and keep the city, keep the city sort of moving forward straight, but also solvent. And I'm pleased to say that, even Councilmember Cermeño, I'm pleased to say that I served on this with some very smart people who understood municipal budgets, who understood the relationship between the city and the economy, who understood the balance that if we did something that threatened the city, the entire city would suffer. And when I was elected, I like to think that I was elected under some really good financial teachers, right? Fiscal mentors. And I think we've come a long way since then. But I also wanted to acknowledge the folks that we have up here. And I think it's important to talk about this because the other day I was talking to a group of people and I said, Hayward deserves to have the very best council, right? And let me just kind of give you a little context of who all of us are up here. Majority of us up here all have master's degrees. We have an attorney sitting up here. We have an expert, a technical expert in planning. We have a technologist. We have 2 professional technologists up here who understand technology, who understand cybersecurity, things that we have directly been impacted by over the last several months and over the last several years. We have 2 educators here who have been educated to our necks, right? We have the experience, the technical experience in every aspect of the city, from public safety to public works to water to roads to every aspect of this city, airport, and if you look at all of the assets that we have here in the city, we need good, competent members who will show up, be disciplined, read, go to meetings, and probably most importantly, represent this city the best that this city deserves, the best, right? I was born and raised in this city, and yes. Should I say it again? Yeah. I was born at St. Rose Hospital. But I'll tell you, growing up, I never knew, I didn't know readily who my council members were or who my mayors were. And, it wasn't until later on in college where I learned who these folks were. And I like to think, just the fact that today we declared ourselves an education city, that kids from preschool, starting at preschool, know who we are. We are engaged. We are involved in their lives. We care about their development and their growth. And I think that that's the commitment that we've taken. And so I just like to tell the city of Hayward, as your mayor, that I think you really do have one of the strongest, most competent councils in Alameda County. By far. And I am very proud to be working with everybody up here. And I'm also very proud to be working with our expert staff up there. I mean, this is it, you know, I often lead off, and I know the council member Syrup has said this before, but I always lead my title off by saying it's an honor and a privilege to be the mayor of the city of Hayward, because it really is a privilege to be here. So with that said, I do support option 2. I do support the language changes. I tried to keep track of with all the language changes, but I just put the Bonilla language. So I know staff has been tracking it and so forth. And so I just really wanted to thank my colleagues on this. Thank Councilmember Syrup and Goldstein on their work on this. And I believe what we're doing is we're directing staff to come back to us with a recommendation with the changes so that we can
For the salary plan. So you'll vote, you're voting for all the other language changes in the handbook, but then we'll return with the salary plan item for the salary adjustment.
And I see the city attorney scratching his head.
Aside from the salary and compensation action items, just on the language changes that I heard from Councilmember Bonilla, they included will.
Yes.
As a directive. And then direction that bylaw changes for advisory bodies, commissions would come to the council for action by way of consent calendar. And boards and commissions would follow their mission direction without attempting to move into subject matter areas of other advisory bodies. Is that sound correct? And so these are essentially friendly amendments to the main motion, acceptable to the seconder. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think it's okay.
Okay, good. Mayor Pro Tem Andrews.
And does my comment regarding bi-monthly require a friendly amendment, or is that just an update that needs to happen?
I think we can incorporate that in.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. So with that said, I think we're all said what we wanted to say about this. Madam City Clerk, if you could take the roll.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Councilmember Andrews.
Aye.
Councilmember Bonilla Junior.
Yes.
Councilmember Goldstein.
Yes.
Councilmember Roach.
Yes.
Councilmember Syrup.
Yes.
Councilmember Sermenio.
Yes.
Mayor Salinas.
Yes, and it unanimously passes. Thank you. Okay, moving on to council reports and announcements. And I have Councilmember Goldstein.
Very good. Thank you, sir. Let me pull this up. So first thing, if I have this on my calendar correctly, we have the Alameda County Mayor's Conference tomorrow. Is that still happening? And that is tomorrow, right? So if you don't have that on your calendar, let's talk about that. That'll be up at the CSU.
Just a real quick, Councilmember Goldstein, that's a meeting only for Alameda County mayors and city managers. And it's not a meeting that's open to the public, I believe.
Oh, so it's not for.
It's open to the public for public comments, but so the rest of, the rest of the meeting though is, is the public.
So not open to council members. Is what you're saying.
Council members can come, yes, council members are invited, but the general public can participate in public comments, but then they would have to excuse themselves.
Very good. Okay. Yep. Thank you for that. Appreciate that clarification. On Thursday night, you are invited to It's Your Time to Shine. It's an in-person event. It'll be here at Hayward City Hall. And what it is, an award ceremony and acknowledgement for folks that have completed the fiscal responsibility classes through the Alameda County Housing Authority. So folks that have experienced poverty were in the 8A program typically, or other housing benefit program through the county, and were invited, they were themselves invited to take financial education classes towards bettering their financial situation. And this will be an acknowledgement and award ceremony for that, and it should be fun. And I hope you'll take some time to come out. And then on Sunday is the Hayward Rotary Brunch. And I hope you can make that. It's a fun time, but it's also a fundraiser for Hayward Rotary. And I've got tickets for that if you need them. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilmember Andrews.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to acknowledge the city staff have created a chart for the Hayward Evaluation and Response Team. That's really helpful. And it explains the differences between the Hayward Mobile Evaluation Team versus the Mobile Integrated Health Unit. And just know that if you're experiencing mental illness, or would like to report something before calling 911, 988 is available. And then we also have a link for Hayward residents at 510-293-7048. So just want to acknowledge the city staff for creating that document for us.
Councilmember Bonilla.
Thank you, Mayor. At our last council meeting, we discussed establishing a council public safety committee. I just wanted to let the public know that staff is working on forming what that might look like, coming up with the schedule and all of that good stuff. And hopefully that will be back in front of us around December 5th. So more to come there, but just wanted to thank the city manager and her staff for working so hard to bring back what this committee will look like. Very excited about it and really looking forward to moving us forward in that direction. That's it, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. And then lastly, I just wanted to add that last week on Thursday, I hosted the Northern California College Promise Coalition at Chabot College, where we had former mayors and educational administrators, executives from Chabot, the school district, Chabot, Cal State, Chabot, Las Positas Community College District, and excuse me. It was a great convening. I wanted to thank all of the educators who came from throughout the Bay Area to come to Chabot College and to really talk about how schools, colleges, and universities can work better with their local municipal governments. Today, I'm very pleased to announce again that we took the first step, that we really sort of came to a consensus with last week, which was step one is to declare your city as an education city. And I would encourage my colleagues throughout Alameda County and throughout the Bay Area to declare their city as an education city. And if they need help, feel free to email me, call my office, and I can certainly share with you what is involved in the work that is necessary to do that. And I also wanted to thank my colleagues for being supportive of this and really showing their appreciation and support over the last several months. With that said, if there is no, there is no, moving on to council referrals, there is no council referral. And so our next meeting will be November 14th, 2023. And if there's no other business, meeting adjourned.